The biggest tool in my table saw, the biggest tool that I own, the biggest tool in my arsenal, I better put this down. I'm freaking out. I can't talk and play with the Rubik's Cube. That's crazy. The biggest tool in my arsenal is the table saw, by far. So I want to go over how to use that today, just in case one day you want to reach the top of the mountain and work with the mother of all tools. It may not look like it, but the table saw holds the power of good and evil. Good in that it can cut you a nice, clean, long line, cut some wood thin, whatever you need to do, long, straight cuts perfectly. Evil in that it could shoot something at your face at about 100 miles an hour, or cut your hand off without even slowing down. So, but let's not focus on the evil, just know that it's waiting for you.
I don't know if you can see it, but this glows a little bit. That means I've paid to get into the metro.
Now, with the table saw,
says that...
Ow! I burned myself a little. It was exhilarating though. Table saw should not be tipping over when you use it. So, you have to mount it onto something, right? You could purchase the kind for a bit more cash that has that little folding frame and the wheels, and you could take it to all those construction sites you go to. I'm not going to no construction sites. And you know what? This is America. You could mount your table saw to whatever you want. I decided to mount it to a big fat metal thing I found. It is perfect. And yes, it has wheels, but it's not going to go very far because this is for home use. Okay? There are just a couple of decisions to make before you power on the beast. And that is, how high do you want the blade? There's a convenient little spinny wheel in the front that will help you raise this blade or lower the blade. How wide is your cut going to be? That's your second decision. Now let's say it's 3 inches. You don't have to measure this and draw it all out on your piece of wood. There is a convenient little ruler slider scale thing on the table saw. You just rotate this knob, line it up to, let's say, 3 inches, lock it, lock this thing here, and you are ready to go with this 3-inch cut. One of the coolest things I ever built with a table saw was a boat. And I don't mean boat at Huntington Beach floating in the water. I mean cool little prop for telling Bible story with the little ones at church. So for a few years there, I was volunteering with the little kindergartners, teaching them their Bible lessons, and it was awesome. And I asked the people in charge, hey, would it be okay if I brought in some props to help the little ones visualize these stories? They said, oh my goodness, what a great idea. And so with a response like that, it was on. I built a throne, I built a chariot, the manger, of course. Noah's Ark came to town. What's cool about Noah's Ark is if you flip that boat around, it also becomes the boat that took John to the island of Patmos. What I was able to do is get 2x4s and skinny them up a bit. That became the material I made this boat with, painted it. So the little ones were able to both learn about the flood and about being exiled to an island to write the book of Revelation, all because of the table saw. What you'll need to run the wood through the table saw, what you're going to use is just any old stick you could get a hold of. And then table saws come with this thing. I believe it's called the, hey, I didn't chop my fingers off today. And you'll run it through the table saw. This holds it down, and the hey, I didn't chop my fingers off today pushes it. Okay, I have a tip for you because I like you. When you operate a table saw, don't stand directly behind the blade. That puts you in the line of fire. You always want to stand off to the side, like this. I made a short film to help express this point. Man, this project's turning out great. I'm just going to stand right here. I hope the wood doesn't bind. You may have heard the protagonist in this film talking about the wood binding. Well, let's talk about that because the wood binding will jack you up. So here's what happens. You have the blade, you have the wall right next to it. Those need to stay perfectly parallel or trouble happens. So if you lock this wall and it's a little bit crooked, the wood will eventually, for a split microsecond, stick to the blade, shoot backwards right through your forehead. Then came the email. The thank you for your service email. We're so thankful for all that you've done. We have put your props in storage, and again, we just want to say thank you for your time as a volunteer. You know how that goes. So, well, I was able to save the throne of David. That's a good thing, right? And the ark. I don't know where the rest went. I kind of do know where it went. And all I'm saying is, good luck throwing away the Ark of the Covenant. Now the table saw does come with a mechanism you could mount over the saw blade, which helps to prevent wood kicking up. But what I don't like is that it keeps you from being able to see the blade very well and what you're cutting very well. And introduce sawdust into that equation, I don't know. You make that decision. But for me, when I go into battle, I like to see the enemy. That Athens trash truck's gonna be like